Hi, Cozy Adventures. I am starting a series looking at all kinds of candy sweets, fragrances in the next couple of weeks leading up to Valentine's Day. And I'm starting out today with cotton candy, exploring that note and things that I have so far that look at different kinds of cotton candy. And I'll start with pink sugar. This is the pink sugar hair mist because I loved pink sugar. Like, I was one of the original pink sugar wearers when it was actually an expensive fragrance at Sephora. Or not expensive, but like mid-expensive, not a cheap fragrance like it is now. And I don't know if it's been reformulated. I imagine it has, but there's something in it now that smells, that I can smell like a plastic tarry chemical smell, and that I definitely didn't smell before. And so I thought hair perfume might not have that because hair perfume is formulated to be more gentle and less chemically astringent. And I think I was correct. It doesn't have that note. But what it does have is a black licorice note that I never smelled before, really. Like, it never stuck out as a note to me. There's a difference for my nose between a black licorice that smells herbal, like a licorice root, like would be in tea, and that I like, or a black licorice candy smell that to me is a sort of darker and more bitter smell, like both more bitter and more sweet. And when I spray this on my hair really, the licorice part really sticks to it. But let's see, if you haven't smelled pink sugar before, it has a lot of cotton candy and sort of a bright citrus tang to it. And the boxes for it used to have like a little chili pepper on it, and it has something that feels almost like a little spice. It has a little like naughtiness to it. I don't really know what that's made of that makes it not cloying. So yeah, it's fun to have on my skin. It's less black licorice candy, so I can use it on my skin and get a little bit of a pink sugar hit. And then I have a few fragrances that I'm going to talk about next that feel like they're a mix between pink sugar and another DNA. Okay, Cozy Adventures, so I'm continuing on with my cotton candy exploration, and I have a few fragrances that remind me of pink sugar but mixed with another DNA. So the first one is Burberry Her, the original Burberry Her, which is, it reminds me of Baccarat Rouge 540 mixed with pink sugar, but a softer version of all of that. I don't think it lists cotton candy in the notes, but to me it comes together being very cotton candy, pink sugary smell, mixed with that Baccarat 540, and it's the same perfumer as Baccarat 540. So that is Burberry Her. The next one is Poison Girl, and I think this one doesn't list cotton candy either, but it to me smells like if Hypnotic Poison, Dior's Hypnotic Poison, which is like a almond tonka vanilla licorice, I think too, mixed with pink sugar, sort of brighter citrusy cotton candy sweetness. And this has a frozen orange note and a kind of like candied orange blossom, and that's what comes together, I think, to make that pink sugary smell for me in this one. And so that is Poison Girl EDT. It also has some carameliness, which doesn't have pink sugar written all over it in the deeper dry down. And then Angel by Mugler, I tried for the first time the past couple days, and it's been a wild experience. It has so much going on. If you haven't tried Angel by Mugler before, look up the notes now. It's like a couple paragraphs long of notes, and it feels like that. Like when you first smell it, or for me, when I first smelled it, I was like, what the hell? Like it was so much chaos in the notes, and it was like one of the first major perfumes attempting at gourmand, but doing it in a very dramatic, all over the place way, and also with a really strong patchouli note that deeper and deeper into the wear gets to be kind of a softer, more chocolatey patchouli, but it keeps it from being a straight up edible gourmand. And the first note listed is cotton candy, so that's one layer of so much other stuff. So it smells like if pink sugar had a baby with like a sort of dark chocolatey patchouli mixed with caraway or something. There's some other like sort of bitter herb in it, but it's really interesting. Continuing on with my cotton candy exploration, I'm moving on from Angel Mugler, which is like the dirtiest cotton candy. It's got some dirty skanky kind of patchouli in there, and yeah, it has this like 90s sort of like dirty musty what am I picturing? I'm picturing a long skirt with Doc Martens rustling around in the leaves that are sort of moldy but also smelling like cookies. So that's Angel. So we're going from the dirtiest cotton candy to the cleanest cotton candy that I have. And so for clean cotton candy smells, I have Juliet Has a Gun Powder Love, and it's a really big blast of powdery sweetness that also has a detergent-y smell to it. And in the mid dry down, the detergent kind of like lifts and it becomes more and more cotton candy. And then in the deeper dry down, then that cotton candy kind of lifts and it ends up more on the detergent-y side. But it's a yummy freshie. I don't know if it can be called a freshie because it's got this like kind of thick powdery smell, and I don't know if it counts. But a yummy clean cotton candy smell. And then the other clean cotton candy that I have is Boardwalk Delight. And compared to Powdered Love, it's not soapy, but compared to like a more straight up gourmand like Yum Bougie Marshmallow, it does have a little bit of like light soapy smell that I think comes from aquatic notes or watery notes. And it's meant to smell like treats on the boardwalk, but also with that oceany aquatic smell, and that comes off a little bit soapy or clean, but with fun cotton candy and some caramely notes. And I really enjoy this one. So it's got all kinds of sweet treats going on, but with this lightness from this clean, watery smell. And then for just straight up sweet, not really about clean, I have Cirque du Soleil, which is similar to Boardwalk Delight, but without that light, freshy, clean scent. It really is just like decadently full of a bunch of treats. Cotton candy, caramel apples, popcorn, and it comes together in a really like super duper sweet, fun, complex vanilla. Hi Cozy Adventures. I am back to talk about pear confections. Pear confections, like pear candy and candied pear ice cream, pear pie. So the fragrances I have in that category, I'll start with Paris Corner's Pear Potion, because that's the most like straight up pear concentrated fragrance that maybe. But it is like a juicy, juicy pear, a juicy pear dessert with a little bit of spice, and it is delightful. So I really like that one. And then Kir Confection, also Paris Corner. This one is related to Kayali's vanilla candy rock sugar. Some say it's a schmoop of it. I think it's quite different. There's a smell that can kind of be in the air that smells similar, but if you actually smell up close, the Kir Confection is a lot lighter, sort of a powdery pear candy, very soft. And the Kayali Candy Rock Sugar has a brighter pear candy. They both also smell kind of like a hard candy that's pear flavored. The Kayali one though goes through different stages, and in the deeper dry down it becomes really, really bubblegummy. And it also has some bubble gum at the beginning from the tuberose, I think. So yeah, and the Kayali also is much stronger projection, and stronger, it lasts longer. Yeah. So that's that one. And then two I didn't like, Pear Gelato by Theodoros Kalatinas. To me this smelled kind of like a stale waffle cone with some like pear smelling sorbet or something, but it didn't have a creaminess, and the cone part smelled stale to me. All right, Cozy Adventures. Finishing up with my candied pear or pear candy fragrances that I explored recently. The other one that I don't like is, looking at my notes, the Latafa Kingdom for Women. And I think a lot of people like it, but to me it was like a soapy floral perfumey sweet pear, and I really didn't like it. And it also had a sort of chemical smell I didn't like, and I got allergies, so that one didn't work out for me. And then Jean Paul Gaultier La Belle Le Perfume Intense, I have a decant of, and that one was really interesting. I think I grew to really like it. It's very intense. It has this sort of like a little bit dirty sexual feeling that a lot of Jean Paul Gaultier fragrances have. And the pear is like an overripe pear, so it's like overripe to the point of being kind of almost gross to me at the beginning. But then when that fades a little bit, and I learned that it actually is like mimicking chemicals of fruit that is overripe to almost the point of rot. So that's why it can feel to some of us like this kind of, ooh, that feels like rotting stuff a little bit, when there are notes that are like super sweet fruit. It can have a similar chemical makeup as rotting fruit. So I get a little bit of that in the beginning, but then that kind of fades, and then I can really enjoy this cooked pear dessert, which also I think has a little bit of spice to it. And there was something in it that did resonate with me for Candy Rock Sugar. Like I could smell that there was some relatedness, but it's really very different kind of pear. And also with Pear Potion is like a fresh feeling juicy pear, and this is a very cooked down, overripe pear dessert kind of pear. And what else? Oh, Pear Gelato. The pear in it smells a little bit like the the Jean Paul Gaultier, the Label. So I imagine that there's some sort of chemical similarity in the kind of pear that was used. So that is that category. Cozy Adventures. My next category of sweet treat perfumes that I am exploring before Valentine's Day is bubblegum. And the first one overlaps with the pear candy, and that's Kayali's Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar. And that it has a fluffy pear candy going on that's sort of powdery. And then it starts to fade and it becomes more bubblegummy. And then in the very deep dry down, there's some kind of cream that comes into it, a sweet cream with the pear. So that's a really fun, yummy, decadent, sweet perfume that is both like a pear candy and like a strong bubblegum scent. And then I got Sugar Milk Company's Princess Bubblegum. I really love their Princess Buttermint. That's my favorite peppermint fragrance. And this is just very pure, sweet bubblegum, but not overly sweet. There's something a little tart to it. And I really like it. It just doesn't last for very long. It only lasts a couple hours. So it's the kind of thing that if you want to stay smelling like bubblegum, you'd have to tuck it in your purse and keep adding it. Although, you know, it's not super, I've only had it like a month or so, so maybe it'll age and get stronger. Sometimes that's the case. But I see this as like probably a nice topper for a fragrance that, like if I use this with Kayali's Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar that starts out more on the pear side, this would add more bubblegum to the beginning, and then eventually it would fade, but the Kayali would become more bubblegummy, you know? So I feel like that kind of purpose could be served with that. And then I have Britney Spears Candied Fantasy, I believe. Where is it? Yeah, Candied Fantasy. And this has a lot of the same, I can smell the whole time, the regular Fantasy, Britney Spears Fantasy DNA underneath it, but with a nice thick bubblegum over the top of it. So it still has all these other smells like hibiscus and some different fruits, and maybe a kind of a mix between bubblegum and tutti frutti and perfume. Cozy Adventures, continuing on with my bubblegum fragrances in my candy series. So I'm really getting to know tuberose and how bubblegummy it can be. I don't think before I started sniffing these fragrances that have a bubblegum note or a strong tuberose note that leans bubblegum that I understood that. So let yourself know that in the future, if you didn't, that if you see a tuberose note, it likely will smell bubblegummy. And so there's a couple like major fragrances that have that strong tuberose. I mean, there's a lot, but a couple that I have that smell bubblegummy. And one of them is Good Girl by Carolina Herrera. All of the regular Good Girls, not the very good girls, not the blush, but the regular ones, start with having a strong tuberose bubblegum note or bubblegummy tuberose note, and depending on what other notes they're with, it's stronger or almost like a different kind of bubblegum. And the one that I chose to focus on for this one is the Good Girls Supreme, which also has a really strong tonka, which I love, that makes it project more and makes it feel like more of a scent bubble. And so it feels like a sweet bubblegummy scent bubble, this one. and I decided that the kind of bubblegum this smells like is Trident bubblegum, which is the kind that I use the most. And then Scandal by Jean-Paul Gaultier, the So Scandal, is very tuberose, bubblegummy tuberose. And also with jasmine and orange blossom. Orange blossom also sometimes adds the tuberose and the orange blossom together, kind of make a bubblegummy, sweet bubblegummy scent. And this bubblegum smelled like that, kind of those little hard, individually wrapped bubblegum candy things that I think are, what are they called? Did I write it down? Bazooka. The Bazooka bubblegum, where I think it used to have like comics in the little wrappers. There's something about the texture of the bubblegum note in this, or what smells like bubblegum to me, that feels kind of harder and punchier and more like that kind of bubblegum. So yeah, so Scandal and Good Girl are both like really bubblegummy. I would say Good Girls are all like more complex than that, but just have a strong opening with bubblegum. Hi, Cozy Adventures. Finishing up my bubblegum theme. The two that I have left, one of them just arrived today, so now I can do it, are My Way, which has a lot of tuberose, so it's got a bubblegummy factor for me, and L'Interdit Rouge, which is very tuberosy. And I put L'Interdit on the shoulder about maybe half an hour ago, and it definitely, like on quick sniff, I can smell a sort of powdery bubblegummy smell. And My Way has a little bit of that, but it also, I think the bergamot is strong in it. There's something that makes it a little harsher on my nose, which is usually a strong bergamot. And there's cedarwood and white musks. I think they both have orange blossom. But yeah, My Way feels more on the fresh side. And even though it's a women's perfume, it feels like a little bit more masculine or something to me. It's more watery, it's less sweet. And L'Interdit Rouge smells really pink and sweet and bubblegummy. When I first sprayed it, I could smell a little bit of patchouli, but I think that's fading a little bit. But when there is a noticeable patchouli note, I've noticed that that does keep me from like really loving a fragrance. So right now I feel a little bit wary of it because I do smell a little bit of that patchouli, which I know for a lot of people that makes something kind of darker and sexier, but for me it makes me go like, it makes it smell a little musty to me, a little dirty in a way that I don't particularly like. And I'm gonna come up against several others as I'm going through these candy and sweets and Valentine's Day themed fragrances that are sweet perfumes with a noticeable patchouli that kind of ruins it for me a little bit. So stay tuned for that. And next I'm gonna go into some sweet candy doll head powdery perfumes. Hi, Cozy Adventures. So continuing on with my pre-Valentine Day candy perfume explorations, my next category are sweet powdery candy doll head kind of smells, or makeup powdery smells too. And let me make sure I have everything in this category ready to go. There we go. All right, so I'll start with one that I just don't like, which is Sniff's Sweet Tooth. And it has like a gummy watermelon-y smell, and it's if you want to smell like watermelon gummies, this smells like it, but it's so strongly artificial candy smell that for me it makes me feel a little headachy, so I'm not into that one, but I can totally understand the people that want to smell like that would love it because it really smells like what it says it smells like. The next one I have is Midnight Fantasy, which I'd seen quite a few people say that it smelled like blueberry candies or sweet sour candies to them. But a lot of people say it smells like shampoo, and I'm definitely someone that thinks it smells like shampoo. So it smells like kind of a mix between like a blueberry sweet and sour candy and an herbal essences shampoo. So like a blueberry flavored herbal essence shampoo. So I could imagine if some people find it super nostalgic and attractive to smell like that, those fruity shampoos from the 90s, that they would love this. So that is that one, but it's not for me. I also don't want to smell like this. It is a really strong smell, or pretty strong smell, and I know a lot of people get compliments for it, so it's one that people smell. It just smells like you've just washed your hair with like really strong fruity perfume. I mean, not perfume, shampoo. And next one I'll do is Lolita Limpica. This is a very licorice heavy perfume that also in the deeper dry down gets very doll head sweet, kind of powdery. But the old formulation that's in this bottle is more like a black licorice candy, and if you get the new formulation like I have in this goes more sweet and doll head, so I actually prefer the new formulation. Hi, so continuing on with my powdered candy, perfume, doll head, makeup powdery, sweet smells. The one that I was on was Lolita Limpica, and I was saying I have a preference for the new formulation of Lolita Limpica and I didn't realize that until I got a secondhand older bottle, and I was like, oh, this is so much more like a licorice candy that is a darker smell to me and less powdery, and the new formulation has more of that sweet doll head powdery kind of sweet, and the licorice smells more like a licorice root or licorice tea, which is definitely my preference in something licoricey. And for similar reason, I prefer the new formulation of sweet too. I got a bottle from somebody, but I like the newer formulation that I have in a travel case, and it just also smells more powdery and doll heady. It starts out on both of them as like a cherry lollipop, like a very like old school, you know, probably 5-cent cherry lollipop, and then as it dries down it gets into this like cherry, if it was like a cherry flavored doll head. That's what it smells like, and the new formulation does that more, and the older version stays more in the cherry lollipop land. And then coming from that, I have Tantalizing Red by Dossier, and this is one of their originals, and it has some powdery cherry candy to it, but more muted and more like the powdery's sweet, but it's more like a makeup powder, and it makes me think of like red high heels and red lipstick, and there's like a sexiness to the sweetness and a grown-upness to the sweetness comparatively. So this doesn't have doll head, but it has more like the makeup powder. And when I first smelled it, I didn't smell this, but today I smell a little bit of incensey smell, which surprised me because it's not in the notes. So that's Tantalizing Red. And then Choco Musk is totally a doll head sweet cocoa fragrance, and Cocoa Cashmere by EOS is as well. Hi Cozy Adventures. A couple more things to add to the candy perfume powdered baby doll head fragrances, and that is a couple lotions. The Cocoa Cashmere in EOS is totally a chocolate baby doll head smell, and the Strawberry Dream is very strawberry doll head. They both have this sort of plasticky smell that is both enjoyable and a little bit annoying to me, because it's strong. Like, it very much, you definitely are smelling a plasticky smell along with the sweet, but the plasticky is very baby doll reminiscent. So those are my two lotions. And then I realized I might not have said this about the Midnight Fantasy, and this does dry down, like in the late dry down, the deep dry down, into something that smelled kind of like a blueberry doll head. So it gets to hang out in this category as well. Hi Cozy Adventures. So my next category in my candy perfume exploration is caramel candy, but this is powdery caramel candy. So I'm going to be shifting from candy perfumes into powdery perfumes in the next couple weeks. So this is like on the border between the two, and one is Prada Candy and one is Bon Bon. And my experience of these two, the reason why they're powdery caramel and not any other kind of caramel, is because they don't have like a true gourmand caramel smell. There's no sort of creamy, sticky, gooey kind of caramely sweet. There's no lactonic vibe that I get from either of them. They actually smell kind of similar in a way, like this perfumey, vaguely kind of caramel, but not really a smell. But this one is like an opaque version that's like really thick, and you can't really pull, it's hard to pull out different notes. When it goes into the mid, it gets more white florally in a way that I don't like so much. And it's just kind of, yeah, I don't really like the thickness, because it's sweet, but in a more floral way and less of a gourmand way for me. And Prada Candy I actually developed a taste for, because it has a similar kind of non-caramely caramel, but it has a lightness to it that almost reminds me of Baccarat Rouge. Like, it doesn't smell like Baccarat Rouge, but it has that airiness that I really enjoy with Baccarat Rouge. So it's got this sort of kind of caramely, sponge sugary thing going on, but in a way that feels very musky and airy and light. So that is Prada Candy and Bon Bon by Victor and Rolf, I think. Hi Cozy Adventures. So I'm gonna do my top 3 candy perfumes so far. These are my top 3 of January. So let's see, I'll do my number 3 is Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar by Kayali. I don't super love the DNA, like I'm not obsessed with a pear candy kind of scent profile, but for that type of fragrance that is pear candy, bubblegum, just sweet, 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 this is really nice and strong and enveloping and delightful. So, and I think it'd be really nice layered. Like, I tried it with like Love-O-Matic that has more of a little bit of soapy freshness on a different part of my arm, and they played really well together. Or Boardwalk Delight, which has a little bit of freshness, plays well with this. So those are my ideas for working with this one. And then for number 2, this is a regular Good Girl, but I'll say the Good Girl Supreme is my favorite. because it has a strong tuberose that smells bubblegummy, but it also has a ton of tonka that gives it that enveloping, wafting around smell that I love in a sweet perfume. So Good Girl Supreme for like a bubblegummy, sweet bubblegummy fragrance. And then my number one is Yum Bougie Marshmallow. I tried so many things similar to it, things duping it, things that were just like sort of adjacent to it. And this is just the best, yummiest, most delicious wafting around scent bubble of a sweet candy fragrance. The strawberry is kind of sweet and candy-like, but it also has a tartness. It has a little bit of freshness, and then balanced, the freshness balanced with this like delightful kind of airy but also thick marshmallow. And it's just number one. It's the best. And I love it for sleeping too, and because I love a nice enveloping sweet fragrance for sleeping, and I really recommend it. So Yum Bougie Marshmallow number one, Good Girl Supreme number two, and Kayali Candy Rock Sugar for my candy perfumes.